Doors open at 10:30 and Jet is open Thursday through Saturday as well as Monday. We'll link you up to more details at the 702.tv site with this video. And on to a more serious segment, the news. The story continues on the death of a high school freshman with the sentencing of a 20-year-old man convicted of voluntary manslaughter. Back in February 2008, 15-year-old Palo Verde high school freshman Christopher Privet was gunned down in a drive-by shooting. And on Wednesday, the man behind the wheel was sentenced to a minimum of 8 years in prison for his role. Ezekiel Williams was driving the car that pulled up to Privet and 3 of his friends. Police reports say that after a harsh exchange of words and gang signs, the car drove off, only to pull up by the boys again near Pavilion Drive. Ezekiel Williams pleaded guilty at the end of June to handing 17-year-old Gerald Williams a gun, which he fired out the window. And do you rent a house? Well, in the future, your landlord could likely reside in California. Sophisticated investors out of Southern Cali are driving strong home sales this summer and creating a new breed of investor. The old formula? Ever-increasing home prices allow just about anyone to buy and flip regardless of skill. Now, investors are less likely to purchase homes for a quick sell, but to make profits from renting out. So, how many homes are finding this type of buyer? That investor percentage has increased by 1/3 in the past year. And for more news hits, let's hit up John Katsilometes for the Cats Report.
This is the Cats Report. I am John Katsilometes. You know, the mayor has this great office at City Hall, but lately he's been making a lot of news outside it. This week, he was at the old Las Vegas Courthouse and U.S. Post Office. This is the site of the Mob Museum, which will be open in early 2011. Goodman announced that on display at the museum will be the brick wall from the Valentine's Day Massacre. This is the infamous incident that was on Valentine's Day in 1929, where 7 men were lined up and machine-gunned and shotgunned to death during a dispute between gangs run by Al Capone and George Bugs Moran. I love the word dispute in this context, by the way. Nothing better settles a dispute than the brandishing of firearms. If you are at impasse, just gun them down. Goodman has been saying that the museum is not meant to celebrate or glorify organized crime, and I agree. The Mob Museum should consider an interactive exhibit, a live reenactment of the scene in The Untouchables, where during dinner with members of the outfit, Al Capone beats one of his subordinates to death with a baseball bat, but not in a way that glorifies the incident. Speaking of trying to get out, only to be pulled back in, Senator John Ensign continues to be dogged by old information that is becoming new news in his affair with former staffer Cynthia Hampton. In emails obtained this week by Las Vegas Sun columnist John Ralston, it is clear that Ensign's top staff knew of the affair long before the general election last year. The real danger here is these documents might one day be on display at the Las Vegas Political Disaster Museum, between a wall-size printout of Governor Jim Gibbons' personal text messages and a life-size portrait of Aaron Kenney. Speaking of boomlets that leave one wondering, there was an unexplained explosion in North Las Vegas early Wednesday morning. I think I know what this was. It was an aftershock from Motley Crue's pyrotechnics during Crue Fest at the Joint. Or it might have been a Godsmack tribute band rehearsing in a warehouse on Aliante Parkway. Speaking of firing back, Las Vegas taxicab companies and adult clubs in the city are battling for the club's right to pay cab drivers for driving customers to certain clubs. This is in response to a $40 million class action lawsuit filed against most of our city's taxi and adult business industries. I don't know about you, but I kind of like knowing that the driver of my cab has the good sense to make these sorts of side deals with business managers. I applaud the capitalism. Why should it be restricted to adult clubs, though? Why can't cab drivers expand to other areas of our culture? If a passenger wants to be taken to a hotel casino, the cab driver could say, yeah, that's a nice place, but have you ever heard of Central Christian Church? Or an out-of-shape tourist could be asked to be taken to a fine restaurant, and the cabbie could take him to Las Vegas Athletic Club instead. I think our cabbies need more, not less, autonomy in these instances. This is one thing that separates this form of personal transportation from, say, the monorail. This is John Katsilometes with the Cats Report.
To read more on any of these stories, as always, just head over to LasVegasSun.com.